Thank you very much, Cathaoirleach. Very much welcome the opportunity to speak in relation to the Government's Jobs Action Plan, a very necessary and very timely intervention. I wonder aloud sometimes, though, at how members of the previous government, some of whom have spoken earlier on today, can maintain a straight face when they talk about job creation. Time and again when the crisis hit, and as it continued and worsened unabated, I think the previous government failed entirely to grasp the gravity and the enormity of the unemployment problem. They vowed, of course, on several occasions to tackle the scourge of unemployment, but only one press conference at a time. I know what unemployment is like myself. I know many people in this House have had a similar experience. I know how human dignity and self-worth can be compromised and undermined. That is why when this government says it's obsessed with jobs, it means it, and it should mean it. When I asked the people of Louth and Eastmeath this time last year for their vote, the one message that was repeated to me time and time again was the urgent need for a government to restore the conditions necessary for the creation of jobs. We began that task straight away with the Jobs Initiative, which introduced a national internship scheme and successfully targeted VAT cuts at the tourism and hospitality sectors. Thousands of jobs were created last year as a direct result of that targeted intervention. And that's what a targeted and focused approach can achieve. Grand pledges that we've heard from the previous government, backed by little more than empty and vague promises, I think insults the intelligence of the Irish people, to be frank, and seriously damages the faith of those who are unemployed or indeed underemployed. I think what sets this plan apart, Minister, is the fact that it's honest. It's honest in its ambition, and it's very much clear on the grounds that we are prepared to be held account as a government, as ministers and individual deputies, held account on its success or otherwise. Creating jobs means doing a series of complex, small but intrinsically interconnected things well. There isn't a silver bullet, as Deputy Doherty and Deputy Harris said earlier on. We know that. What we're about is targeting the sectors of the economy that we know can grow, working together to identify what we can do and what we'll do better than any other country in the world. Take the arts as an example, an area of particular interest to myself. We can and will double the number of people working in the film and audio-visual sector in the next few years under the Action Plan for Jobs. Nobody thought 20 years ago that we could, under the inspired leadership of the then Minister for Arts and our current President, Michael D. Higgins, that we would create a productive film industry that would create thousands of jobs and cement Ireland's place on the international film production stage. The creative industries under this plan will flourish. We have about 5,000 people working in the film and audiovisual sector at the moment, and we target under this plan a doubling of that figure to 10,000 over the next few years with state support. And I know the sector, the creative sector, will flourish, because there are a few sectors in our society which I think have shown the innovation, the imagination and the resourcefulness of the arts and culture sector in recent years. Our unique arts and culture offering, Minister, I think exemplifies what's best about Ireland, what it means to be Irish, and what's best about being Irish. And I'm confident that the film and audiovisual sector can and will deliver the sort of job rate increases outlined in this plan. Could I just move finally to some remarks made by colleagues earlier on. The county enterprise boards and the very fact that they've been assimilated into the county council structure is a positive move both for the enterprise boards and for their mission, and a positive move for local authorities. The performance of local authorities around the country in relation to enterprise development has been patchy and sketchy, to say the least. And I think this move will benefit both the local authority structure and the enterprise boards themselves. And I think imbue the local authorities.
Sorry for interrupting. I was going to say to you that, because there was a full 10 minutes in the slot, you could speak for longer if you want. You could speak the full 10 minutes.
If that's possible, I have a few more remarks to make.
Well, and then you can adjourn the...
I think the enterprise board structure and philosophy can imbue the local authority system with a much more pro-enterprise approach. It is important that the local authorities have a pro-enterprise approach. They have a key role to play and a key function in relation to job creation. And we've seen that ourselves in County Louth with the development of the economic unit of the Louth County Council in recent years. I know you're familiar with what has been happening in Louth, and you know how effective it has been under the leadership of Con Murray, the county manager, and Pádraig White, and the Louth Economic Forum, the former chief of the IDA. I'm very enthusiastic about the potential for the export unit in Enterprise Ireland, and I'm baffled as to why that particular issue has not been dealt with before. There are to the best of my knowledge, anecdotally at least, in my own area alone, dozens of Enterprise Ireland support, or dozens of small and medium enterprises that could benefit from an extra injection of not just funds but advice from Enterprise Ireland in terms of how to export and how to produce and create jobs on that basis. In relation to procurement, it has long been an issue for small and medium enterprises in this country. The fact that they feel that they are not adequately resourced and assisted to benefit from state contracts. It's very important that we grapple with that particular issue. I tabled a series of parliamentary questions to a range of government departments and state agencies recently that showed in fact that we are improving in terms of performance, awarding contracts under obviously the EU requirements to Republic of Ireland based businesses. It is important in these times of constrained exchequer funding and constrained capital projects and so on that we do target local industry to benefit from the constrained and restrained amounts of restricted amounts of funding that we have available, because to do otherwise we'll be throwing good money after bad. There needs to be, I suppose, a value for every euro, for every job. Just in conclusion, I think probably the most significant improvement and significant measure in this particular action plan is the fact that the document itself, ministers themselves will be made accountable, and state agencies will be made accountable, and it's a very action-orientated approach. I agree with previous speakers when they say, you know, accountability needs to inform everything we do in relation to this, to the creation of jobs, because that has been a failing of previous approaches. Approaches really that only amounted to cosmetic exercises from the previous government. And can I say just in conclusion, Deputy Harris mentioned the fact that our international embassy network needs to be very much focused on trade. Of course, a deliberate decision was taken by this government at the outset to ensure that the Minister for Foreign Affairs would take on responsibility for trade, because it is important that every embassy across the world where Ireland is represented is heavily imbued with the attitude that they also have a job creation agenda as well, and that is something that is very much to be welcome, and we've seen the benefit of that in recent times as well.